Welcome to the Fi Guys, the podcast where we help you take control of your finances and multiply your wealth. Today, we're applying the principles of procrastination on purpose. But first, hi, I'm Chris, joined here by my co-host Dom, and we're excited to dive into today's episode where we'll be exploring the concepts of Rory Vaden's book, Procrastination on Purpose, 5 Permissions to Multiply Your Time, and how it can be directly applied to your financial journey. So with that, let's get started.
At first glance, you might wonder how procrastination could possibly be relevant to managing your money effectively. After all, isn't procrastination often seen as a barrier to success? However, Vaden's book introduces a powerful concept on procrastinating on purpose, which involves deliberately postponing low priority tasks to focus on high impact activities so that they align with your long-term values and goals. Now let's think about the concept. Cut right there. Now let's think about how the concept translates to the realm of personal finance. Many of us struggle with procrastination when it comes to managing our money. We often put off creating a budget, delaying debt repayment, or avoiding important financial decisions just because they seem overwhelming or even daunting. But what if we could flip the script and use procrastination as a strategic tool to take control of our finances? That's where the principles from Procrastination on Purpose comes into play. By defining your financial goals with clarity and precision, you can prioritize your efforts and resources towards what truly matters to you, ensuring that you're making progress towards your desired financial outcome. Next, by eliminating financial distractions and unnecessary expenses, you can free up resources and focus your attention on activities that have the greatest potential to grow your wealth over time. Automating your financial processes allows you to remove the burden of manual tasks and ensures consistency in managing your money, reducing the likelihood of procrastination or oversight. Also, delegating certain financial tasks to professionals or experts can provide you with specialized knowledge and assistance, helping you make informed decisions that optimize your financial strategies. And finally, by procrastinating on purpose, deliberately postponing low priority tasks, you can allocate your time and energy to activities that have the greatest potential to multiply your wealth, such as strategic financial planning, investment research, or pursuing an additional income stream. So, as we explore each of these principles throughout today's episode, I encourage you to consider how you can apply them to your own financial journey. By harnessing the power of procrastination, on purpose that is, you can take control of your money, stop procrastinating, and ultimately build wealth over time. So with that being said, let's get started. First off, Chris, why do we procrastinate so much?
You know, that's kind of the age-old debate, right? The reason that I even want to do this podcast is because procrastination for me has been a huge issue that I've dealt with my entire life. And luckily, when I was working for a job and I had a boss, you could only procrastinate so much, right? Because there were still hard deadlines that you had to come to and get your job done or you're going to get fired. But when I became an entrepreneur and I started running my own company, well, you can kind of procrastinate indefinitely. You can never get what you need to get done because the boss that you need to hold yourself to is you. You need to be that person to kick yourself in the ass sometimes. So I read a lot of books on procrastination, on how to overcome the issues that I have or the things that I fail at. And this is one of those books. I just recently got back from vacation and I read Procrastination on Purpose, and it really sparked when I saw the title. I was like, oh, I can procrastinate on purpose? Like, yeah. That sounds good. Like, I want
like
to know
that.
what that was. Yeah, I like that. You know, now I don't have to feel bad about it anymore, at least. And then, you know, as my job is, I try to take as much as I possibly can from other people and then incorporate that into a financial realm to see how can this help improve our finances. So while the book Procrastination on Purpose is not a finance book per se, I think that you can take any concept and move it into finance, which we're going to try to attempt to do here today. But to answer your question, why do we procrastinate? You know, I think we have 3 reasons for that. You know, what's the big reasons? And the first one is the type of procrastination that we have. And the first procrastination is conscious procrastination. And I think that's what most people would call the classic procrastination. I know I have a homework assignment due. I know that I have to go to the store and do these things, but I'm going to do other things instead because I don't want to do it, or I'm just going to put it off and sit there and watch TV all day. I think we can all say we've been there.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I get scared of doing work sometimes, and the best thing for me to do is just sit down and watch TV. But I know at the end of the day, that's not going to move me closer to my goal. So that's conscious procrastination or classic procrastination. And that one isn't that big of an issue because you know you're procrastinating. You know you have to get work done, but you're trying to avoid it for whatever reason. The next type of procrastination, I would call creative avoidance, or more perniciously, unconscious procrastination. This is what most people in business end up doing, and most people in their lives. They know they have important tasks to do, but they're afraid of doing those tasks for whatever reason it is. Maybe they don't know if they can succeed at it. Maybe they're afraid if they do maybe partially succeed at it, it won't be viewed as successful. So what they do is they end up setting themselves up with a bunch of different tasks and medial things of getting work done, more like trivial work rather than actual getting the big things done. So you'll see this a lot with people who go around saying like, oh, I'm so busy. And they almost feel that being busy is an attribute that they want. Mm-hmm. And that other people look to them as like, oh, good for this person. They must be really successful because they're so busy. Where at the end of the day, they have 36 tasks they have to get done every day, but maybe 34 of those could be eliminated or not even need to really be done. Mm-hmm. And one or two of them are the really, really important ones that you need to get done every day. And we've talked about that before. When you become a business owner, the goal is not to work on your business or work in your business, but to work on your business. And then the final and probably the scariest of the three reasons that like people procrastinate is it's called a priority delusion. And this one's kind of fascinating because it's both conscious and unconscious, but this comes from people that you wouldn't call lazy per se. When someone's creatively avoidant or they're classically avoidant when it comes to getting their things done, you might say, oh, just stop being lazy and like get the work done. You know you have to get it done. But people that are able to get past that and they're able to work hard and continue to grow and get more responsibilities, well, now everything starts to seem more urgent and everything begins to take up more importance than it actually is. And more people are coming to you with their actual issues, saying like, hey, this is really important to me. So unfortunately, people in like this realm, they're no longer looking at what's the most important thing. They're falling victim to what's the latest and the loudest trends coming towards me right now. So you can think of it this way. Most people, we have our email inbox to go, what is the newest thing comes to the top of the inbox. And is what the newest thing that came into your inbox, is that the most important thing in your inbox? I would say it's never the most important
Usually
thing.
Isn't now.
Yeah, the most important thing is probably way down the list because you archived it and say, I'll get to that later. Or I would probably even say, to take it a step further, what's inside your email inbox is not a priority in any way, shape, or form. That's other people's priorities that they're putting onto you.
That's true, actually. Oh, what an interesting way of looking at that. That's very true, actually. Yeah, that's super true. Interesting. Yeah, I think that, like you said, the scarier one is definitely the unconscious procrastinating. The one, the stuff you can't see, and that you don't have the consciousness to understand or even see.
Yep. Yeah, but you can still go through the guise of your whole life saying, oh, I'm so busy, I'm getting so much done. Mm-hmm. But are the things you're getting done, is it actually noticeably moving you towards your goals? Or is it just getting stuff done? At least you get to feel like, oh, I'm doing a lot.
Yeah.
Which is worth it.
Because you can run in place all day and still get nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know? This is, I know we started off with the podcast saying, it's not a finance book. It's not, but really it's directly correlated to finance and, the broader side of life. But I know for a lot of people, probably most of the country, I would assume, they are scared to open their bank account. They're scared to open up their bills, their credit card bills. I think we've all been there towards like, I have an idea of what it might be, but I don't want to check. And they're scared of a number, right? They're scared of the unknown, and they procrastinate off not looking at it, not checking it, not dealing with it like an adult. And we've all been there. And then it starts to get a little bit nastier and a little bit meaner as time goes on. So let's talk more about what we can learn from this book.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I took away from this book is that we've all been told a huge lie when it comes to time and when it comes to procrastination. I think we've all been told, and we all believe it because it is partially true, is that we can't make more time. And that's 100% accurate. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. To my knowledge, there's no way of making 25 hours. There's no way of making anything more. But what we can do, what this book has helped me to kind of look at, is that there is a way that we can multiply our time. So I say we get into that and what we're able to actually do when we multiply our time, and we're not creating more time, but we're eliminating tasks that could be automated, that could be eliminated, that could be delegated, and now we're getting our time back in excess over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
that's what we really want to do, is kind of get more time back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is difficult for a lot of people, because when you look at it, say you have your 68 tasks that you have to get done today, Jesus. And I come to you, or whatever it is. So many people have so many tasks. I have to go, I have to wake up, I have to cook breakfast for the kids, go to the store, do all this stuff.
Yep.
And the first thing I come to you, if you're running a business, I say, you know what you should do? You should really set up automatic bill pay. You're going to look at me and be like, Chris, you're fucking crazy. I have all these other things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Set up automatic bill pay is like number 68 out of all of these things. Why would I do that first? But what I would argue is every month you spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes going through and paying off your bills.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if you spend 2 hours right now setting up automatic bill pay for every single one of your accounts, after 4 months, you've broken even on that time.
Yeah.
And then after a year, you have gained back basically 2 hours of your time. So that's what we're trying to look at here, is in what ways can we multiply our time? In what ways can we set up what we need to do? And the first thing we need to do whenever we're going to do this is we need to define the problem. We need to figure out and clearly define what our financial goals are, what our priorities are, and what we want to focus our efforts and our resources on to most effectively manage what we're trying to do. Because one of the difficult things with procrastination is if you end up chasing 5 rabbits, you catch no rabbits.
That's true. That's very true.
So we need to focus on what's the most important thing that we can focus on right now, and then we need to actually go after that. Okay. Too many people nowadays, they look at, the word priorities with an S, priorities, that only came around in like 1950. I'm not sure if you know that. Before that, the definition of priority is what is the most important thing. So how can you have priorities? You really can't. No. Any priorities, all the priorities are getting in the way of your priority.
Yeah.
You can only focus on what's the most important thing. So if we're trying to focus on 3, 5, 10 different things, well, we're going to fail at all of them. So you say, what's number 1? And then whatever's number 2 is number 2. And you have to be accepting of that. That is the way that life is. So once we're able to figure out what's the most important goal to you, we need to set SMART goals. And we've talked about SMART goals before because they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Yep.
So these financial goals could be anything to, I need to get money for a down payment for a house. I need to build up my emergency fund. I need to figure out a budget. Whatever that is for you, you need to figure that out for yourself and then prioritize that and say that this is my number 1 financial priority that I need to get done.
No, I like that. I like that. I think it's so much more powerful. I just want to quick little pause. It's so much more powerful focusing on one thing, one task, devoting all your energy towards the task. But do you think now, I know, like, let's say we have the big priority of the day and then we have a bunch of one big one, 10 small ones, right? Say we get it's 5 p.m. We finally get the big one done, but the other 10 priorities aren't done. Do you think we'll still feel bad that we didn't get the other priorities done? Or did you see what happened? The other priorities. It's not a priority. I just noticed that. It's not, because they're not priorities. You did the most important thing first.
You did the priority.
The priority.
Now you have a next priority. Yeah. You have a next priority, which maybe you're going to work on the next priority. Maybe you still have more time. Maybe you don't. Maybe you push it off to the next day. But like I said before, and like you just caught yourself there, if you have 10 priorities, then you really don't have a priority.
No.
You have the most important thing. And I think a lot of us, and this is the hard part, is that we'll look at what is the number 1 priority for you. And you have to answer that for yourself. I can't tell you what your priority is. But we'll say, I'll put that priority off till the end. And I'll deal with that after I deal with all the other BS that comes in. And then unfortunately, what normally happens is you have that list of 10 things. One that's the most important, 10 other things. Most people, they fill their day with those 10 other things. And then 5 o'clock rolls around and you haven't gotten the most important thing done. And then I would just pose that question to our audience member. What's better to do? doing 10 things that were not the priority, but at least you got them done. You can say like, oh yeah, I did it. Or actually doing the thing that noticeably moves the needle and doing the thing that actually matters.
Yeah.
I would say doing the one thing that's important and saying, let's get rid of the rest is probably the best thing to do in that situation. And that's what this book is going to help us work through, is figuring out what is the number one priority and what can we do with those other 10 tasks. So we'll walk through that together through this podcast.
So how do we evaluate what the number one priority is? Is that something, are we just focusing on something that is going to move the needle? Because I know for me in my like daily journal, I have a section in there where it says, okay, the day would be a success if X task was completed, right? And that's usually the main priorities, backwards thinking, but now the main priority of the day. So how do we go about it? Are we just focusing on the task that brings us the most stress, or maybe the highest risk task, or how do you go about that?
I reverse engineer. So I start with the end in mind. What's my end goal? If I'm trying to start a YouTube channel, for example, my end goal would maybe be to monetize or to, I don't know, grow my audience to 10,000 subscribers, whatever the number is. Now I have to work backwards and figure out, okay, what today do I need to do in order to get to that end goal? And that end goal is going to change. Maybe today it's get to 100 subscribers. Next month it's monetize. I don't know what it is, but it's something you have to figure out for yourself. But now we have to reverse engineer and figure out what's the most important thing. And this is where it gets very difficult, especially with procrastination. Some people might be able to look at that and say, okay, well, in order for me to set up my YouTube channel, I probably need to figure out which camera I need to get. And now they're doing 15 hours of looking into cameras. And I need to do market research, right? So I need to watch at least 20 hours of YouTube videos. And we feel like we're being productive and we're under the guise of being productive. But what's the most important thing you can do? The most important thing you can do if you're trying to start a YouTube channel and get good is turn on the goddamn camera and start talking into the damn thing and start figuring it out that way. So at the end of the day, you have to reverse engineer and say, what is my end goal? What will be the most important thing that I could do right now or today to get me towards that end goal? And while the camera is important, the audio is important, all these things are important, that's all figure outable. But what we need to do is we need to figure out what's the most important thing. And for that, it's going to be turning on the camera and becoming confident with having it on in front of you and being able to actually talk to the thing. Because at the end of the day, that's the thing that's going to move the needle for your business, if that's what your business wants to be.
Absolutely. Got to do the tasks that move the needle, right? Like I need to sweep in my house, right? But I also need to go to the bank. Like, well, which one's more important? Probably the bank one. You know, do I like a clean house? You know it. You betcha. But I'm still going to have that stress of I still haven't gone to the bank after I've cleaned the house. One thing I noticed, at least in my own life, is that let's say I have the priority of the day, right? And I have 5 or 6 small tasks, right? Non-priorities, but they're on my to-do list today. Usually the small tasks I can get done rather quickly if pressure was applied. But since you do the small tasks first, they take more time because you're more laxed, you're more relaxed. And then, like you said earlier, by the time you get 5 o'clock rolls around, I should do that big task. It's like, dude, you had all day. What'd you do all day? Well, I swept. I did that. I mowed the lawn, cleaned the kitchen. It's like, dude, that's an hour for all 3. Like, you can do that really fast. And what I find is like, what was that thing you said? I can't remember if it was you eat the elephant in small bites, right? But you got to take on the big task first, is what the book is basically saying.
Yeah, eat that frog.
Eat that frog. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah, I find that when I do my most important task first, it's like going to the gym early in the morning. You know, it's like, oh, I got that. It's my best part of the day, but it's like, I'm glad it's over with. Now I can continue on. Because if I didn't, I'd just be thinking about it all day and stressing about it. And then looking at the clock and be like, okay, at 5 o'clock, the wife comes home, maybe for you, right? And I don't have enough time to go work out, or, stuff like that. So life gets in the way. So it's like, get your stuff done first so that nothing else gets in the way.
Yep. Yeah. And it's kind of like that with everything, with finance. That's why I love the connection between finance and fitness, right? It's, you could put off finance, you could put off fitness indefinitely, but at some point, these like chickens are going to come home to roost. So sometimes focusing on the thing that maybe doesn't noticeably move the needle today, like setting up automatic bill pay, is it really going to move the needle? Is it going to make you feel better? Probably not. But in the long run, it's what's actually going to help you dramatically.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to figure out. I remember when I was a manager, working with a different company, and they took us to like a manager retreat, and they gave us a cup. It was a glass little jar, and inside the jar there was a thing of sand, and it was about like 75% of the way filled, or maybe like 50% of the way filled inside the glass. And then they gave us some rocks inside of another little bucket, and then some beads. And then they said, all right, your goal is to fit those rocks and those beads into that jar with the sand. So of course everyone goes ahead and they start grabbing the rocks. Some grab the beads first, some grab the rocks first, and they start sticking it inside the sand, and they're trying to like push it down as best they can. And they're trying to figure out like, how do I fit all this stuff inside there? Well, the purpose of the exercise was to tell us this. At the end of the day, you have your rocks, and those rocks are the most important things that you have to get done. That's your priority. And, maybe you have 2 or 3 different priorities, but like this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. At each time, whatever number 1 is, that is the priority. You don't care about the other stuff. Then you have those beads. Those are those little tasks that are also important. They're going to move the needle, but they're not as important. Those would be like the other 10 things you have to get done. And then you have the sand. And the sand is all the other minutia that comes up in life. Vacuuming the house, doing the dishes, things that are important, but they don't need to get done right now. So the way that you're able to actually pass this puzzle is you need to take the sand, you need to pour it out of the glass into the table. Then you take the rocks and you stick the rocks into the cup. Then you take the beads and you put the beads into the cup. Then you take the sand and you let that pour around and you let it sprinkle around everything else. If we're focused just on the sand and getting these little tasks done that don't actually move the needle, there is no more time in the day to focus on the rocks and the beads.
What an interesting analogy. What an interesting analogy. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Interesting.
Yep. And now I say we move into the section where we actually look at the rocks, the beads, and the sand in this analogy. And we say, what one of these, and this is where the book really comes into play and really starts to figure out like, this is meaningful to me, is the first thing. And I want to pull up this chart that we had up earlier so we can kind of all see together what's going on.
Perfect.
So if you guys are just listening on audio on YouTube, you can always go to us, look for the Fi Guys. We're there as well, but you can see exactly what we're looking at here. So this is the focus funnel. And as you can tell, the first part of the focus funnel at the top is, first we have the task. So first we need to decide what is the priority, right? And we just talked about that at length for the past however many minutes. We talked about what the priority is. You can only have one priority. So we figure out what that task is. And once we decide that it's going to go into the funnel, this is where we need to start to figure out what we're going to do with it. So the first thing we can do with this is eliminate the problem. And we ask ourselves, is this something I can live without? If we're looking at the rocks analogy, the beads analogy, or the sand analogy, is this really the most important thing? Can I eliminate it? Is it unnecessary? Is it just a distraction of what my long-term financial goals are? Or my long-term goals in general? So when we're implementing that, we need to conduct a thorough review of our spending habits, or identify areas where we can cut back or eliminate expenses. Maybe we can look at dining out too much, or subscription services, or impulse purchases. And we could look at that and say, can I eliminate those things? And again, I'm trying to take a book that's regarded for business people and make it into a financial thing. So sorry if it's a little clunky, I'm doing my best here. But that's what the first thing we can do. Can we eliminate these things?
Interesting. Okay. That makes the most sense. Sense. So could you give us an example of a task that you might eliminate maybe in your own life?
From a financial standpoint, I can't think of something.
Okay.
But from a business standpoint, there's a bunch of stuff that I could probably eliminate. What I would say for that, it's checking email constantly. Is that really something that I need to do? No, I can eliminate that and just say, I'm going to check email once a day.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is automate.
Yep. The next one is automate. Is this something that someone else can do, or can it be systematized?
This is
when
your game. You're like the automation man.
I really try to set up as much as I possibly can. So maybe from a financial standpoint, this might be setting up automatic savings where your money is going to automatically flow to your savings account, your retirement account, your investment account. You set up automatic bill pay. You just try to do anything that you possibly can to set everything up so that you can take your dumb mind out of it and focus on what's really, really important.
Okay. Okay. I like that. That's one of the first things that I set up when those services started coming around, like the acorns and the rounding up and all that fun stuff. I love that. I love that. It's like ghost investing.
First we go through. So first we ask, like, can we eliminate it? If the answer is no, we cannot eliminate it. This is important. Then we ask the next question: can I automate it? Can I get this done? Can I put a little bit of work in at the front end? Automation is to your productivity as compounding is to your money. I'll say that again. Automation is to productivity as compounding is to your money.
Interesting.
Anytime that you're able to automate something, that you're able to get something off of your back, that's going to pay you dividends in the future. Much like every time that you invest your money, if you go and you think of your money like little soldiers, right? Every time that you have money, if you spend your money on something that's as fruitless or needed or not needed, you just killed one of your soldiers. But every time that you invest that money and it gets to get the power of compounding work behind it, you're now producing more soldiers that don't complain, that don't take a sick day, they don't get pregnant, that that always are out there working for you 24/7 all the time. Now, of course, you're going to have to get to a time where you have to spend some of your soldiers down, but the goal is to try to avoid that as much as possible, or to only focus on the things that are important to you. So if you have to kill a soldier, it's for a good reason that's going to move you towards your goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Keep it going.
Then the next thing we're going to do, if we can't eliminate it, if we can't automate it, then we're going to delegate it. Is this something that I can maybe push off to an expert, push off to a professional? If we're talking about finances, can I get a financial advisor? Can I talk to somebody? If we're not talking about finances, can I train somebody to do this for me?
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the hardest things. Now we're going to move back into like talking about bosses more and, like into your normal life. It typically takes somebody, it is going to take you 30 times the amount of time to train somebody to do something as well as you can, as it would for you just to do the task yourself. So I'm thinking for someone who's trying to start a YouTube video or try to start a YouTube channel, they can go through and they could edit the video and make it perfect. And that could take them an hour to do if they're really good at editing. Or they can spend 30 hours training somebody to do the editing the exact way that they want them to do it. Most people are going to say, I'd rather just do the 1 hour of editing and that way I don't have to think about the 30 hours of them doing it. But if you really think about it, if you invest that 30 hours, now you have somebody else that's out there all the time creating those videos for you. And of course you have to pay them, you have to do all these things, but that just freed you up to now have 30 hours that you can dedicate to making more money or doing whatever is most important to you.
I like that.
So
I like that.
The question of delegation is this something that someone else can do?
And sometimes it's not, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
And sometimes not. And at any one of these points, and if it's not, then we move down to the last part, the do. And either we go ahead and we concentrate, this is now the number one priority, and we're going to get it done to the best of our ability.
Absolutely.
But then this is also where it could go to the another thing, where it's procrastinate on purpose, which you can see if you're looking at the funnel on the left side, procrastinate on purpose. And what that means is this is not the most important task to me right now. Maybe it's not going to, it's a lower, I can postpone this because it's a low priority. And there are other things that have higher impact on my business that I can work on or on myself. So then it's going to go back to the top of the funnel, and you're going to now work on whatever the other task is. So like we talked about before, if you have 10 tasks at the beginning of the day, and you're trying to figure out what's the most important, run them all through this. I have 10 tasks. Can I eliminate number one? Can I automate it? Can I delegate it? No. All right. So I'm going to do it. Should I do it right now? Is it the most important thing? Or can I procrastinate on it and move the next priorities to the number one priority?
Mm-hmm.
run through this same thing. And what most people end up finding, what I find for my business all the time, is that most of the tasks that I put into the top of the funnel can either be eliminated, automated, or delegated. Or at the end of the day, I can procrastinate on them and put them back at the funnel. And most of the time, if I put them through the procrastination funnel enough times, eventually I'm going to realize that they could have been automated, they could have been eliminated, or they could have been delegated. There aren't so many, no one's so important that they have to get everything done. You are not that special. And I have to remind myself that all the time.
Yeah, I find myself having to do that as well, as well. That's very interesting. I like that little worksheet. Yeah, guys, if you're on the web, if you're on mobile, go back, screenshot that so you can have that. Maybe put it as your I know for me, I put stuff I want to remember as my wallpaper on my phone. So I might throw that one up on the wallpaper and be like, do I eliminate? Do I delegate it? What are we talking about? Do I automate it? I like that. I think that's a very useful thing. So getting back to, did we talk about how you found this book? You were on vacation?
Yeah, I was on vacation. I mean, you know me, I'm really big on, I have my my 2 library cards that are connected to Hoopla and Libby.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you live in any city, go to your local library, sign up for a library card. You get free books. That's free information. Like, all of the knowledge you're ever going to need is at your fingertips. And then I go on Hoopla and Libby, which are 2 free apps that you can connect your library card to, and then you can digitally read any book that you want. So I read this book, and then I read a bunch of Attack on Titan, all the mangas. Like, I probably read the first the first 12 mangas while I was on vacation, just sitting on a beach.
That's awesome.
And chilling. But yeah, I mean, I'll just go through and I'll look for things that are interesting to me. For this book, I know that procrastination is something that I struggle with a lot. So when I saw the book Procrastinate on Purpose, I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Intriguing.
I love to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Yep. I like procrastinating, even though I don't like procrastinating. I do it all the time, so I must enjoy it for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like it's like a coping mechanism to like protect yourself from the pain that the work is coming. When in actuality, it's like, you're not at war. We're not in battle. Like, our battles are, let's send 5 emails to the clients today, or for me, it's like, all right, let's get this edit done within the hour, or let's post these shorts, right? I think it's cool that you love these books. I love hearing about these books because I know you. For those that don't know, Chris is the speed reader. He is like the best speed reader I have ever met. I've ever known. Like, he'll read things fast. He'll like listen to podcasts on like 10 times speed, and he's downloading speeds at like crazy rates. So I always love to hear what kind of books he's diving into. So okay, so how could we? What else does this book have to teach us, Chris?
Well, those are the big things. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Is first off, like, why do we procrastinate? Evolutionarily, it's because our goal is just to have kids that can have kids. So anything that like doesn't push to like that most important thing, we're going to be able to put it off. Our brain is, and our bodies, we try to conserve as much energy as we possibly can, because when we were early hunter-gatherers on the plains, like, we didn't know when our next meal was going to come. We didn't know when we had to have a big exert of energy. But nowadays, we don't live in that situation anymore. We have excess of energy all the time, but we still have this 10,000-year-old brain in this modern-day body. So unfortunately, it's very easy to say, I'll put that off till tomorrow, because your brain and your body is saying, like, why should we expend energy on something that's not that important to us?
Absolutely.
I think we all know that if something's really important to you, you'll get it done. You'll find time to figure it out. So if you show me someone's calendar, I will show you their priorities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, if you tell me like,
go for it.
If you tell me like, oh, I'm really big into fitness, I love working out, I love going to the gym, I like to swim or do whatever, then I'm going to say, okay, well, when do you do that? Where on your calendar is it? And maybe you're not a calendar person, and you're not saying like, I'm going to do it from this time to this time. But if you don't say like, oh, I go to the gym from this time to this time every day, or I do this, then it's not really a priority to you. If you're saying that my priority is spending time with my family, yet when you come home from work every day, you go straight to your phone and just scroll endlessly, then that's just not your priority. And that's okay. But so many of us, we go through life just stuck in this hamster wheel. and not knowing how the hell do we get out of it? How do we get out of this constant habituation of this is the way things are? And until we're willing to really look at our things, say, is this task actually important? Is scrolling on my phone actually important? Or am I just procrastinating on what's really important to me? Can I eliminate this? If it's scrolling on my phone, that shouldn't even make it past the first part of the funnel. Do I need to scroll on my phone? No, it's eliminated. Gone. Maybe if you're someone who's doing market research, like you're trying to be a YouTube person and you're trying to say, okay, I do need to do some scrolling, or I do need to do market research. So I can't eliminate this. Okay, can you automate it? Can you pay somebody to watch YouTube stuff for you and tell you what the trends are? Can you pay for a service? Can you go on vidIQ and see these are the trends right now? Yes, you can automate it. But let's say even again, like, no, I really need to do this. Okay, then can I delegate it? Can I delegate it to somebody else to go and watch videos for me? And then if that's still not the case, yeah, I still have to do it. Then am I going to do this right now? Or is there something that's more important? Is spending time with my kids more important than watching this video? And then that's how that funnel works. Put every single thing that you have to do through the funnel and say, can I do these things?
It kind of reminds me of the book, The 4-Hour Workweek, in a sense. You know, delegating, eliminating tasks, optimizing, automating, rinse and repeat type strategies. And it's interesting because some of us want a 4-hour work week. Some of us don't mind work. Some of us love to work. But we all have tasks, and we all have a priority, or quote unquote priorities, that we want to get done so that we can feel accomplished and we can go to bed knowing that we had a good day, myself included. And I like these. I like these tasks. I know there's some stuff that, oh, I'll just do it right now just because it's easy. It's like, yeah, but does it matter? Like, it's like it's kind of interesting. I had a handyman come over. This was about 2 weeks ago, and he fixed my sprinkler system. The entire box system was completely ruined, and it kind of reminds me of the automation step, because before, I love my grass, right? Love it. I would go out there every night. I'd water the grass manually, right? I'd go out there and I'd put the hose out and I'd position it in this area, and then I'd set the timer, put it in this area, set the timer, put it in that, and it just shows wow, I enjoy it. It's a nice peaceful time. I get to have my shoes off. I'm in the grass. It's night. It's cool out, and but it was taking a lot of time and energy. Sometimes I'd forget that my alarm was set to do not disturb, and the water would go on for a good time.
You have a puddle in the backyard now.
It's a rainforest back there now. But now that we have the sprinkler system set up, I don't have to worry about it as much, right? It comes on at 5 a.m, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to go out there and water it anymore. And it's kind of interesting because it's on one hand, it took away something that I like to do, but at the same time, it made me more efficient on things that I should be doing, right? So it's kind of a balance of, enjoying tasks and being more productive to get to the end goal. Because in actuality, by me watering the grass manually, I really wasn't focused on my main objective, right? My main objective would have been, make more income so that XYZ or whatever my current goal is, right? And I think it's so interesting because oftentimes we have a lot of tasks, but we don't have a direction we're going in. And that's something that I'm trying to refocus myself in since I've moved out and I've become more of an adult, is having a vision for what my life wants, what I want my life to be. And like you said earlier, you start with the why and re-engineer everything you do. I mean, even as something as simple as your to-do list. I asked you, how do you prioritize? And you're like, well, I start with why and I work backwards, re-engineer it. And I thought that was so interesting because you yourself have goals in life, right? You yourself have objectives you want to meet, things you want to do in your world. And that's where your starting point is. And I think for a lot of us, we don't know where the starting point is. And I'm not sure if that's because we don't know who we are or we just haven't been exposed to so much. I don't know. Do you, how can someone find their why, Chris?
Oof.
I know that's a loaded one. It's
I think like trying to find like your why, it's you want to look at the intersection of like where your passion, your purpose, and what you're good at all intersect.
Mm.
Like what things do you like? And unfortunately, this is the hard part, right? Is sometimes your passions and your purpose, they just don't have, there's not like a good way to like monetize that. Maybe there just isn't.
Yeah.
So I'll just give you from a personal anecdote. So I've talked about person or your purpose, your passion, what you're good at. Those are the three things you want to look for what's going to be kind of your why. I've never liked working. To be honest, I don't like working. I don't like doing stuff. I'm extremely lazy. I just am.
Me too.
So
Me too.
the one thing that I knew that I like to do is I like to learn. I hated learning when I was in school, but once I got out of school and I got to learn whatever the hell I wanted to learn about, I ended up loving it. So there was something that I found passionate. I found passion in just learning. Then I figured out, oh, hey, I kind of like this money thing. And I kept on like going down the money rabbit hole. And I would find myself listening to financial podcasts, reading financial books, thinking about how do all these things, like even this book, how does that focus into finance? So now I had my purpose and my passion. They were both aligning. Now there was a question of, well, what do I do well? Well, what I can do well is I can synthesize information pretty well. I like to listen to a lot of information. Maybe, and I enjoy teaching people. Is there something I can do with this? And now I had to create, and unfortunately there wasn't a way that I could do it by myself in a company. Maybe there was a company, but nothing that was accessible to me. So I started my own company. I started a thing where I could align my purpose, my passion, and what I was good at, which is my purpose, I guess, learning and being there for my family and growing as much as I possibly can. You know, we've talked about my value system in life is family, friends, forward progress, fun, and fitness. Like those are the most important things to me. So I was able to find something that worked all those things into it. Then I said, like, what am I good at? What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about finance. I'm passionate about helping people. And then how was I able to figure it out? I created a company that allowed me to be able to do these things and help people and have people pay me to basically act as their financial coach, financial advisor. And then we started this podcast as kind of an offshoot of that to help people who wouldn't be my clients because I can't help everybody and I can't charge everybody. And I can only do so much coaching with so many people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that's a great answer. I think that's a really, really great answer. Thank you for that. I appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Yeah. I gotta find my 5 Fs. I gotta find my fitness, my family. Still working on a few of those things, but should we get into the conclusion?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Before we do that, maybe we should work through it as like, if I was trying to figure out a finance thing, how could I run through this? Because I ran through it with like a YouTube channel. So let's try with a finance one. So I think with a lot of people, what they end up doing is they'll say like, when they end up getting into like, I want to be better with finance, they end up looking at 1,000 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up getting completely overwhelmed and they end up doing nothing about it. Right? Would you agree with that when it comes to finance?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's choose something. I say usually the first step that we want to do with somebody who's having trouble with their finances is first we want to create like a budget, or we want to at least get like a spending tracker in place and see like, where's the money going? How much money is coming in? How much is going out? Like we need this information to start with anything, because I wouldn't even know how much of an emergency fund you should have if I don't know how much money is going out. So I say this is probably the first place to start. So at this point, I would say, let's put this at the top of the funnel. I need a budget tracker, or I need something to create a spending plan. So the first thing is, can I eliminate this? And I would ask myself that question. Can I eliminate this task? Well, we just kind of talked about it. This is probably the fundamental thing that I'm going to have to do. So next thing I'm going to ask myself is, can I automate it? Well, yeah, I can automate it. There's Monarch Money, there's Copilot, there's Rocket Money if you want to do free things. There's a bunch of different things that you can automate it. But maybe you get to that point and you say, I don't want to pay money. I don't like automation. I don't want to do that. Well, can I delegate it? Does my spouse enjoy it? Can my spouse track the money? Is that something they'd be willing to do? If the question goes again down to, no, I can't delegate to anybody, then you have to ask yourself, is this the most important thing for me right now when it comes to finances? Or maybe is building up the emergency fund more important to me? And then you can either do it and set up a spending tracker, or you can decide to put it back to the funnel.
Interesting.
And maybe maybe this could have been a better thing with, your emergency fund. Can I eliminate the emergency fund? No. Can I automate the emergency fund? No. Can I delegate the emergency fund? No. Is it the most important thing for me right now? Well, what's probably more important to me is figuring out how much money I'm spending so I could put it back to the top of the funnel and deal with that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where the book comes into play is we're procrastinating on purpose because we know what the most important thing is. We know what the priority is. We don't have a bunch of priorities. We have the one priority, and then we let it run through the funnel over and over and over again until we decide that we can either eliminate it, automate it, delegate it, or get the damn thing done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we've talked about it on the podcast a few times where people ask, like, where should I start in finance? I don't know where to start. It's like, how much are you making? How much are you spending? Let's start tracking things. And like nowadays, it's easier than ever. Long live my my good digital pal Mint. If you don't know, Mint is was one of my favorite tracking financial trackers, and they shut down because everything I tend to touch dies. But but yeah. So there are, like you said, Copilot. What were the other ones that
There's
you like?
Monarch Money, which I like. I think Copilot, when we did our like best tracking tools, was the one that won. But I would honestly put Copilot and Monarch on the same level. Like if you're an Android user, Monarch. If you're an iPhone user, Copilot. Or maybe it was vice versa of that. I can't remember exactly.
I remember Copilot being very high up there. Like we really both liked Copilot.
Yeah, I liked them both.
Yeah.
I just when I was on my iPad, Copilot was easier than Monarch, and I like to track on my iPad.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, that's what the win was.
Done deal.
But I use an Android for my phone. So if I just used my phone, then maybe I would have said Monarch. I don't know. We could have gone either way with that. But these are the kind of things that I think about all the time. And how can I do that? And how can I do this with my finances? So many people were afraid to even look at our budget. Yeah. You know, we're afraid to take a look at the money. Hey, I don't know what's going on with my money at all. I just need to look at my bank account. And we could put it through the exact same thing. Can I eliminate this? Can I eliminate looking at my bank or taking control of my finances? Well, I guess you could try, but eventually it's going to lead to disaster. Then you ask, can I automate it? Hell yeah, there's a bunch of ways you can automate it. But maybe you say, no, I need to look at but no, you can't automate looking at your budget for the first time. You have to do it at some point. No. Can I delegate it? You can delegate it. You can give it to a financial advisor. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. But at some point, you're going to have to come to the realization that I need to get it done. So run it through this funnel, through this focus funnel, and figure out what's the most important thing to you. Yeah. And can you do it every single day? And Absolutely. All it is, you're putting that task in the top. Eliminate is this something I can live without? Automate, is this something that can be systematized? Delegate, is this something I can do? And then after that, there's the do. And you can concentrate and get it done now, or you can procrastinate, put it back at the top of the list and do it later.
Perfect. Well, guys, I hope you guys took some good notes and took some good action on today's podcast. We do have a conclusion, but we also have an action step for today. Do you want to get into the conclusion first?
Yeah, let's do the action step first. So for the action step, your goal this week is to look to eliminate, automate, or delegate one part of your financial life. I don't care what it is. You figure it out. If it's, I want to be better at my spending or my tracking, and every day I know at the end of the day I just have no time to go back and look at it. Can we eliminate that task? You probably shouldn't. Can we automate that task? I bet you definitely can. Can we delegate that task? You probably can, but if you're going to go with that one, I would just say automate it. Make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Automation is, oh, dude, it's so nice. It's so nice, guys. Especially automating your savings. Love that. I love that so much. I remember one time when I was in college, I wanted to invest in stocks. Right? There's a stock that I was like, oh, I want to invest in this. But you know me, I'm a broke college student. And I was like, damn, I wish I had some money. I was like, wait a minute, don't I have like an Acorns account or something like that? And I'd automated it like 2 years prior. Maybe not 2 years. It was like it was like maybe 2-3 months prior. And maybe it might have been a year prior. Doesn't matter. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to invest. So I went in there. And I had like thousands of dollars in an account that I didn't even recognize. I was like, wait, what? This is my money? And I was like, yeah, you've been automatically depositing it into this account, and it's been compounding with interest and investing itself. I was like, wow, that's pretty snazzy. I like that. That's not bad. And it was just that simple automation that paid dividends and continues to pay dividends throughout my life. And I set it up one time, and it's just continually doing its thing. I love it. It's like a self-growing farm. It's like I got unlimited money, unlimited food now. And I love that.
Yeah,
Unlimited.
that unlimited, and you set it up once and you got out of its way. And then I'm sure once you took that money out so you can go invest it in it, looking back, you're probably like, I probably should have just kept it where it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I should have just never touched any of it and done all that stuff. And that's the funny thing about finance is you don't need to be the smartest person. You don't need to know all this stuff. You just need to set up the systems and get the hell out of your own way.
Yeah.
'Cause
Sometimes
let it do what it's going to do.
Yep. Exactly. Sometimes we're a little bit of a goofball. We think we know better. Guys, just be smart. Just look down the road a little bit more, and don't. Yeah, you got to get out of your own way sometimes. You just got to get out of your own way.
And if you decide, like, I want a financial advisor, I would rather have someone do this for me, you can always reach out to Chris at monsonwealth.com. You could reach out to your local fiduciary advisor, figure out that system, but not everyone needs that. So, like, as a financial advisor, I'm fine telling people that not everyone needs me, because I think there's too many people out there that say, like, everyone needs an advisor, when I just don't find that to be true in any way, shape, or form.
It's good.
You can set all this up pretty much automatically, get out of your own way, and just let it figure it out. And just like Dominic said, years and years later, you're going to look back and be like, wow, look how much just forgetting about it, setting it up one time. Because too many people, they're like, oh, all I'll do is I'll set up the money to come from my bank account to this investment account. Then I have to go inside there and invest it. But what they end up doing is they end up thinking like, oh, well, the market's not a really good time right now. I probably shouldn't invest it. And then they end up just sitting on cash forever and ever and ever.
Yep.
Where if you set up all the automation of out of this account, it's going to go to this investment account, that's going to get automatically invested into whatever I want it to do, which is another thing that's important. If it's going to an investment account, you need to make sure it's going into something. I've had too many clients who say, hey, Chris, I keep on saving $200 a month, and I feel like all I'm doing is just every time I look at it, it's only getting added up by $200 every month.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, let's see what's invested in. Well, it's just sitting in cash. You never actually invested the money.
Yeah.
So there are levels to this, but what's the most important thing? That's what we're trying to get to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed that book, especially the recap from you, because I haven't read it, but I enjoyed the recap from Chris. Any final thoughts?
No, just remember, by applying the principles of financial management strategies, you can actually take control of your finances, stop procrastinating, and ultimately multiply your wealth and your time. So remember that consistency and discipline are the keys to achieving your financial goals. So stay focused, stay committed to your long-term success, and know that the Fi Guys are always here with you. And if you found any value today, please tell a friend about the Fi Guys, because we're always here, and it's so much better to go with a friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, we appreciate you. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Leave a comment.
And leave a comment.
Yep.
Can't forget about the comments. We like to hear what you guys have to say. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday. If you are watching this on Monday, we post on Monday and Friday for our main podcast, with shorts coming out throughout the week. And don't forget to tell a friend, all that fun stuff. And I think that's it for us. Later, guys.
Yep. Later.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monson Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monsonwealth.com.